Hey everybody, it's Brad with another Floriani Total Control U video for you today. Today we're going to be helping out a customer of mine who just purchased the software and is having a little bit of trouble getting started because she's never done Digitizing before. But before I start, I just want to mention that we have an event, an online Floriani event scheduled that is on September 2nd. If you go to, I'll actually drop a link for this in the description of the video. It's going to be a live event with Kathy Quinn, and you can register. It's free to come to. Now, if you have a local store that you go to, they're probably going to be doing one of these too, and you should just sign up for theirs so that you support your local store. But if you don't have kind of like a home for your Floriani stuff, then I'd be delighted if you would join our event, and anything that you purchase supports us at the store and is very much appreciated. So just wanted to get that out of the way. Like I said, I'm going to drop a link for this, and it's free to sign up. You just go to this website, put in your information here, and then you will have access to the event. So let's get to the meat of this video. Kimberly just bought the software and she's having a little bit of trouble getting the image into the program, and then from there I'm sure she's going to need a little bit of assistance figuring out what to do with it once it's in. So she sent me a link to the site where the image that she wants to use is located, and I have identified definitely what part of the problem is of her being able to get this image. So let me bring up the website here. So this is the image that she wants, and when you go to try to download this, it does not let you, just because of the way that it's embedded in the site. If you right click it, it does not let you download this. So if you choose save as here, it tries to save the entire web page, which is not what we're trying to do. So what we have to do is get a little bit creative with this. Now, if she knows the organizers of this thing, she can just have them send her the image, okay, which I'm sure that she does. But in the event that there's no way to get the JPEG of this onto her computer, a way that we can get around this is to look down at our keyboards, and there is one of the keys should say print screen. It's probably PRTSCN shortened, but the print screen button, if we hit that, that will take a screenshot of everything that is kind of on our screen at once. And then if we go down to our start button on our keyboard, it looks like a little Windows. They call it the Windows key, not the start button, I guess. You hit that, and I know this is off of where you can see, but I'm just typing in the word paint, P-A-I-N-T, and I'm going to hit, it's the Paint app comes up in my start menu. I'm going to click on that. Let's size this and put it into where you guys can see. There we go. And then we're just going to hit Control and V, or you could just hit paste right here. Either one is the same thing. And that gets me this image. So there it is. We're just going to go ahead and crop this by using the select tool right here. And we're going to left click and drag a box around the image. And then we're going to hit crop. Boom. There we go. We just saved this image somewhere that we know where it is. I'm going to save it right onto my pictures folder. It's probably going to be the easiest place. Or C drive Digipix. Okay, we'll put it there. And we'll call this potluck. And PNG or JPG is fine. I'm going to set it to a JPG. There we go. And just hit save. Boom. There we go. So we've got our image saved on our computer now. That's going to allow us to bring it in to our software. So I can close this web browser, and when you're looking at the My Floriani Today page, we're going to want to choose Create a New Design. Okay. Now, if you've never updated Kim since you installed it, you may want to click this button here and download the latest version of the software, just so that everything is totally the same on my screen and yours. But once you're updated, you're just going to hit Create a New Design. And that's an optional step, really. You don't have to do that. So let me just explain what we're looking at here. This is the design field right here. This is where all the editing that we do to the design is going to take place. Up here is the properties menu. Any individual item that we have in the design field, no matter what it is going to have a set of properties when it is selected. So this line that I drew, these are the properties of it. If I don't have anything selected, I don't have any properties to look at. Okay, and then down here, our sequence view, this shows every single element in our design. So if I drew another line below this one, there's now two lines here. If I hit this plus sign, I can see the two individual lines. This also shows what order the things will sew out in, and they are automatically grouped by color. So if I drew a third line in a different color, down here's my color palette, that is going to show up as a separate category. Okay, so these are all the things that are this deep ocean color, and then these are the things that are the aqua color. Now, on the left-hand side is a toolbar, and if I say the left-hand toolbar, this is what I mean in any of my videos. So if I say, go to your left-hand toolbar and find the picture of a mountain scene, which is what I'm about to say, because that's how we're going to bring the image in. We're going to look over here on the left-hand side, and this looks to me like a little mountain scene, so that's what I call the backdrop tool. That is how we're going to be bringing in our artwork. So if we left-click on the backdrop tool, it's going to allow us to choose the image that we want, and it should be, you're going to have to navigate to wherever you saved the picture to. I saved it in C drive Digipix. You could save it wherever you want on your computer. You just have to know where it is. And we called it Potluck. There it is. We're going to hit open. There is our image. Okay, now it's not very big. If we look in here, actually no, it is. I'm not in inches. I'm in metric because I just updated. If you want to switch your view from this metric, this is America, and here we use inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to right click on the ruler, which this part here and this part here is a ruler. We right click on that and choose inches. Boom, now it's in inches. Now we're going to change our grid to be in inches too. So we're going to right click again, choose grid settings, and we're going to set our grid major, let's see, spacing to 0.25, that's good, and our grid major to every 4 is how I like it. And I also like to set these to be black. Say OK. Alright, so now this is going to be 1-inch squares. That's how I like mine set up. We are also going to probably want to change the background color because there is some white in this design. So to do that, you hit this. Looks like somebody's splashing a bucket of paint onto a computer monitor. We're going to left click on that and hit color. I like this light gray right here. That's what I like to use for my background. That way, when we have white, we can see it a little bit easier. So essentially, the first thing we need to do before we digitize anything is we need to figure out what size we want this to be. So let's say that you're going to do this on left chest on a shirt, say. I don't know what your plan is with this design, but if that is what we're going to do, then we don't want it to be any wider than about 4 inches at the most. So we're going to get our ruler tool right here. This looks like a ruler, and we measure from here to here is 4.83 inches. That's a little bit wider than I want for left chest on a shirt. So how do we make this smaller before we go about starting to digitize? Well, what we do is we go over to our backdrop tool, and we can just grab one of the corners here like this. And when it makes that sign, then you can size it down a little bit. Now we can go back to our ruler and measure it. This is now 3.8. Perfect. All right, and then we're going to zoom in a bit by scrolling our mouse wheel. I'm just going to use my mouse wheel to zoom in until I can see kind of the whole design at once. I'm going to do one more zoom in because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on doing this globe here. All right, and before I start digitizing this, I just want to show you something that will kind of explain why I'm going to be doing it in this weird, wild way that I'm going to be doing it. So when we draw something that's curved, like these lines on this globe, we can use straight lines to create curves. So watch this. If I use my pencil tool up here, that's artwork that just draws with points, I just left click in a place, left click in another place. That's a line. I'm going to right click, which is going to stop generating this line. Right click. And now I've got this straight line here. If we go up and select it and use our shape tool, which is this guy that looks like, I think it looks like a spaceship flying towards a planet, but this is the shape tool, this little tool right here. Whenever you have something selected, you have all these little icons around it. This one lets you adjust the shape. So we're going to click on that. The line turns purple, and watch what I can do. Just pull on the line, and now it's a curve. So that's what we're going to do with this globe. Okay, so we're going to have these lines. We're going to draw them as straight lines originally, and then we're going to go back and curve them. So that is going to be our strategy for creating the curved lines on the globe. And then the other thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to, as much as possible, have it all be one continuous line rather than a bunch of individual lines. Because that way the machine doesn't have to stop and cut, and you end up with a design that just sews out more neatly. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. We're going to zoom in here. Let's see, we're going to use the artwork tool here. I can go ahead and pick a color. Let's see, we want it to be some kind of green. This one looks good. And we're just going to start from the center, and I'm going to start here and go straight to here. I'm ignoring the lines in the middle. We're not touching these ones that are a circle. We're going just the ones that are going to be radiating out. So we go from here to here, and then we want to travel down the circle to here and then back to the center. Okay, so that's going to be kind of our path. From there to there to there, and then back out to here is this line, and then to here, and then to the center. Now I'm going to stop and just show you what this is going to look like when we're done, because if I just go and do the whole thing, it'll be confusing. You won't see what the whole strategy is. So watch this. We click the shape tool, and then I can pull these individual curves into position, and it's much, much easier to draw them this way. Let me make it 3D so you can see it. To draw them this way, right, than to have to click, 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 click to get those curves in. Right, so that's how we're going to approach digitizing this grid that's over the globe here. All right, so I'm going to start over again. So we're going to go from the center of where they're radiating out from to here, and then along the globe, and then back to center, and then out to the next point, which is about here, then along the globe, and then back to center, and then to the next point, which is about there, then along the globe, and then back to center. Now our next one is kind of obscured by the O, but we're actually not going to probably leave these gaps here, so we'll take it all the way down to inside that O, and then I'm gonna travel, so the O is going to be over top of this, so nobody's going to see this travel stitch here, and then we're going to go back to center. And then the next one, let's see, we can go to here. How do I want to do this? Let's see. Yeah, we'll go to here and then kind of travel along this T. So I'm cheating a little bit, but that's fine. And then back to center. And then down here to here, and then back to center. Here, here, back to center. Here, here. And this is, I can go inside of this because it's going to be covered over. Back to center, and then here, here, back to center. Next one is this one, here, and then travel along the side. This is the next one, back to the center, to here, back to center, and then here to here, and back to center. Now we're going to right click to generate this. Oh, you know what? I should have done all the way down to the bottom, you dummy. That's all right. We can do it in two pieces. And then we're going to right click to generate this whole mess, which, yeah, is going to look like a weird mess until we go in and one by one make these curve to match the lines. So we have the endpoints of these lines. We just need to move them into position so that they're curved the way that the line is on the screen. You see how this is making it easier in the long run, even though it's kind of confusing to think about it. And if you have to watch this sequence over and over again till you kind of get it, that's fine. Like, that's perfectly reasonable to have to do that, because it is confusing. Where did this line come from? Is that this one? I may have an extra line in there. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at it once I'm done. Let's go from this direction. So we curve this one. That one actually doesn't curve that much. Curve this one. This one goes here. This one goes here. This one goes here. This one goes here. Aha! This one goes here. Okay. So once we have our artwork in, which is what we're looking at here, this is artwork. Right now this is not stitches. If we look over in our sequence view, this tells me that this is artwork. It is not stitches. My stitch conversion tools are all down along the bottom. We've got three major sections. We've got the run stitches, the satin stitches, and the fill stitches. Those are our major stitch types. And this needs to be what's called a run stitch. So we're going to use run, boom, and that has created this grid for this part of our globe, and so we also are going to need to have these ones that come up. I should have done that as part of these, but that's all right. We're going to go ahead and go in and just kind of start here and go down and then kind of come back up and down. And remember, this part we can run right through it because this is going to be covered over by stitches. Something like that. It's probably too far down. If you make a misclick, you can hit backspace. Alright, so something like, let me zoom in a little bit more. Something like that. And then if I don't like the placement of any of my points, I can always use the shape tool here to go and drag it somewhere that I'm happier with. Alright, and then we're going to turn that into a run stitch as well. This button right here, run. Okay, so we've got all the what are those? Lines of latitude? And then we need to do the lines of longitude, which are going to be these circles. So in order to do the circles, we can use up here the rectangle tool. If you hit that, it opens up and becomes other shapes. So we want to use the ellipse, fancy way of saying circle tool. And we're just going to left click and drag a circle in there. Don't worry if you don't get it as dead on as I do. I have lots of practice. You can go ahead and move it wherever it needs to go, and then if you need to adjust the shape, you can do that with these little handles here and here, or you can use the shape tool and adjust where the points are. Once we get that in place though, we're going to use the run, and then we're going to do the next one, ellipse, that's this one, kind of just like that. Now this one I'm going to need to adjust a little bit. I didn't get it perfect. So we're going to pull this side out a little bit and pull this side down a little bit. And I'm not worried about those letters at all. We're just going to overlap everything with the letters. So not worried about that. We're going to go ahead and hit this and make this a run. And then we're going to do the next circle, which is this one. Kind of like that. We'll stretch this out a little bit. Again, I didn't make it quite perfect, so we got a little bit of fixing, which is fine. Alright, we take that one, make that a run. Okay, and then we got the next one, is this one here. Let's see, that's about there. Okay, and yeah, we'll go ahead and just make that a run. Well, you know, it's occurring to me that we may need to actually cut some of these circles because this is going to pile up a whole bunch of stitches up at the top, which we don't even need. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to cut these. We're going to leave this one whole because we see the entire circle, and we're going to leave this one whole because we see the entire circle. But these next two, we really need to cut the tops off of them, and the way you do that is you're going to open up your shape tool. I'm going to go in and let's see, I think we can actually, hang on, what if I don't use the shape tool and I use the slice tool? Well, I don't remember how to do that. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to do it with the shape tool. We're going to use our shape tool, and then we're going to go in here. We're going to just right click somewhere along this line that's close to the edge and choose add point. Then we're going to go in and do the same thing over on the other side. Right click and add point. And then we're going to right click on each of these new points and choose split line. And And then over on here, we're going to right click on this and choose split line. All right, and then we just get rid of these new pieces that showed up in the sequence view by hitting the delete key on them. And they're gone. Okay, so the next one we do the same thing on shape tool. And right click. I can really do this all the way over here, honestly. Right click here, add a point, right click here, add a point, and then split that line. I don't know why it's splitting it into smaller pieces like that. I figured that would split off this entire deal. I guess those ellipses aren't closed. I'm just hitting the delete key on those to get rid of them. Delete key on my keyboard. And then we're going to split the line here. Right click, split line. Okay, and then get rid of that extra little bit there. Hit delete on my keyboard. Okay, so that's going to be much better, much less dense up at the top. We'll have one circle that goes around the whole thing. Okay, so that is all of the run stitch lines, I think. Let's go ahead and hide our image and take a look at what we've got so far. This button right here will hide our background. And yeah, that looks pretty slick, I think. So the next thing we're going to do are these kind of thicker lines down at the bottom, I think. Actually, no. The next thing we're going to do is put a circle that goes all around the whole thing, actually. So let's go in and do one circle that goes around everything. Like this. And then stretch it so that it fills this entire thing. Okay, so that looks fine. Make that a run. And we'll turn off our background and see how it looks. Yeah, that looks okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do this line and this line here. Okay, so we got to trace it. Now this is a much fatter line than the kind of single lines here, so we can't use a run stitch for this, but we're still going to trace it by not doing any of the curves, just the hard point. So there, 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 and then we close this shape using this button here. Close shape, left click on that, and then use our select tool, use our shape tool, and pull these curves into place. There, there, and that looks pretty good. Maybe pull this out a little tiny bit like that. Yeah, so this we need a different type of stitch on, so there's a really handy thing that we can do with this ruler tool here to help us out. If we use this and measure a line, like for instance, let's measure one of these real skinny lines. See that where it says tip, it says use run? That tells us that we should use a run stitch for something this thin. What about if we measure this one? We measure from here to here. Tip, use satin. Sweet. Okay, so we know what kind of stitch to use. Now when it tells you use satin, the satin stitch that you want to use is going to be this one right here. When you're first getting started, this one at the end of the satin rows here. You want this auto satin. This is the easiest one. It just automatically puts a satin stitch in there. All right, so we're going to do that and just let it be what it is. Okay, and then we're going to trace the next area, which is here. I'm going to put one there and then close the shape. That's going to allow me to pull this here, pull this here, pull this here. And then we're going to have to actually pull on one of these handles a little bit. If you click on a curve, these little handles come out and they allow you to edit the curve. See, this is the one for the bottom. Here we go. And then we can pull this guy back where he goes. A little bit like that. And it doesn't have to match exactly. Nobody's going to be like measuring your, you know, your design up against the one on the website. You know what I mean? So it can be off by a little tiny bit. That's just a couple millimeters off. Not a big deal. Auto satin that. Wonderful. I did notice that my color reverted back, but that's all right. We can do the color later. Let's go ahead and make this one. It's gonna be inside our O. Auto satin it, and then there's a little tiny bit up here. Close. Auto satin that. Good enough. All right, so that is our globe sorted out. Now we need the stars and we need the text. Okay, so for the stars, I'm going to use, they have these symbols built in up here that looks like a little clubs from like a deck of cards. And I think there's actually a star already built in. Yeah, star. There we go. And we can just left click and drag a star right there. All right, let's see. We got it rotated right. Yeah, good enough. It's a little too big, so we're going to size it down. Cool. And then we can just copy this. So if I hit the duplicate button right here, this one, this is duplicate. If I touch that, boom, I got another one. I can put it over here. Do the same thing. Boom, and put it over here. Easy peasy. All right, now we need the text. Now, I don't recommend manually digitizing the text because that would take all freaking day. What we want to do is measure these and find a font that works at that size, that's a block font like this. So let's see, we use our ruler, measure that, it's 0.33 inches. So we're going to go ahead and use our text tool, that's this one. And we want to look at, first thing we do is just left click somewhere. There we go, and we want to look at over here under font. I'm going to change this from all fonts to block fonts, and then these are all block fonts. So we want to find one that looks very similar to the text that's in there. It's kind of a bold font. Let's see. Solid 2 looks pretty good. Ooh, this is really good. Solid bold. Yeah, we'll do that. So we're going to do, what is this? The Potluck DC. Oh, and the other thing we need to do is check the maximum and minimum size. This needs to be able to fit within 0.33. So minimum is 0.2. So yeah, this is definitely going to work. So we call this the Potluck DC. So the, oh, I just accidentally clicked the wrong button on my keyboard. THE Potluck DC. Right, hit apply. All right, and then we set the height to 0.33 and hit apply. All right, that's closer to the right size. But we also have to get it on this kind of wavy line here, and we got to change the spacing of it a little bit, and maybe smoosh it down just a bit. First thing, let's get it on a line that curves that way. So you're going to right-click it and choose Digitize. How do you do it? There's a way to do it. I don't remember off the top of my head. Let's see. Okay. You right-click it in the text tool and choose Path Frame. There we go. That gives me this little path down here. And I think if I right-click it now. Oh, wait. Okay, it's got some text paths built in we can just use, so let's do that. Here we go, this one's perfect. And if we flip this around, there we go, there we go. Alright, that's closer to where we need to be. Then we're going to make it so that this doesn't go up by right-clicking and choose Edit Baseline, and then delete these points. Move this guy down here. There we go. And then we need to stretch the whole thing out with this black thing. And then we need to adjust this part of it so that this doesn't go down quite as far. So we're going to remove a couple of these points. We're going to put this up kind of like this. Yeah, that's better. And then edit the baseline. We're going to nudge this part up a little bit. And then maybe move this letter. I don't know. I'd have to play with it a little bit more to get this exactly perfect, but that's pretty close. All right, so let's zoom this in. Let's take, You know what? I don't like that actually. Let's undo that. Let's edit this baseline again. Edit text. Edit baseline. Let's just put this whole thing up a little. Edit baseline. And then move the text over a little so that our O lines up. All right, let's get rid of the background image. And we'll make it all the right color, which we want to be this kind of green color. There we go. There's our design. So to save this, you just go to File and Save to Sew. You're going to want to tell it what type of fabric and tell it that you digitized it. So if you're going to do this on a t-shirt, say I digitized, make a check mark next to here, hit next. It'll tell you what kind of stabilizer to use, and then you hit finish, and that's pretty much it. And then you take the PES design and then you can put it on your machine and sew it out. So yeah, if you wanted to have a white fill in the background here, you could do that too. Actually, I don't remember whether you told me you wanted that or not. So if you do want a white background fill in here, then what you would do is use the ellipse tool here. We could actually copy and paste this one, and then make it white, and then use this button here for fill, and then this has to be the first thing. So you right click and move it first, and then we have a white background in the globe. I don't remember whether you said you wanted that or not, so that's how you would do that if you wanted to. But there we go, quick and dirty. You want to make sure you save this to sew, otherwise the outlines are not going to line up. So again, that's File, Save to Sew, tell it the fabric you're doing. So like if this is a like a polo shirt, that's a PK knit, I digitized, new style settings, next, and finish. It's going to ask where you want to save it. You just save it as you know, the name of the file, DC whatever, potluck. And then you've got all of the settings will have been changed so that it sews out properly. And that's it. So I'll send you this file. You can sew it out and see whether it works for you or not, or whether you need to tweak it at all. Hope you learned a little bit about the software. I would recommend some other videos of mine that you could watch. So if you went to, this is for Kimberly, if you go to my channel, this video right here, Getting Started Digitizing in FTCU for New Users, I recommend watching that video. Okay, it's a good introductory thing. And don't forget, if you want other people that are watching this, don't forget, if you want to sign up for our Floriani event, it's free to come to, and anything you buy supports the store and supports me. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.